Today, we're going to dive into one of the most common struggles out there, time management. But we're going to challenge the usual way of thinking. What if the secret isn't about managing the clock at all? What if it's really about finding your compass?
I mean, does this sound familiar? That frantic pace of running around all day, putting out fires, clearing your inbox, only to just collapse at the end, feeling like you haven't actually accomplished anything important. It's a really frustrating cycle, and trust me, you are not alone in feeling that way.
You know, this quote gets right to the heart of it. It challenges our most common complaint: I just don't have enough time. But what if the problem isn't the number of hours in the day? Come on, we all get the same 24. This suggests the real issue isn't a lack of time, but maybe a lack of skill in how we're using it.
And it's no surprise, right? A whole industry has sprung up around this problem. Planners, apps, books, seminars. It's this massive billion-dollar sector built on the promise of helping us organize every single minute of our day. But let's be real. If these tools were the whole answer, why do so many of us still feel completely overwhelmed?
Do any of these hit a little too close to home? That constant anxiety about what's due, feeling like you can't make time for the people who really matter, or that special kind of exhaustion that comes from being busy but not actually productive? These aren't just personal failings. They're the classic symptoms of a broken approach to time.
So, what's the alternative? Well, it starts with a powerful, almost counterintuitive secret for unlocking massive results with surprisingly little effort. Let's talk about the 80-20 rule.
Now, this isn't some new productivity hack. It's a principle that was discovered way back in 1897 by an Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto. He was studying wealth distribution and noticed that about 80% of the land in England was owned by just 20% of the people. And he quickly realized this imbalance, this predictable inequality shows up, well, just about everywhere.
And this is where the Pareto principle gets personal. It suggests that a huge chunk of our effort, think about it, 80% of our time is spent on tasks that only generate a tiny fraction of our most important outcomes. Meanwhile, a small, vital 20% of what we do is responsible for the vast majority of our success. Kind of wild, right?
This is the number that matters, 20%. This represents the vital few activities, the actions that truly move the needle and create the most value. Everything else, according to this principle, is pretty much just noise.
So the core message here is incredibly powerful. We don't need to cram more into our day or get more efficient at doing everything. We need to get ruthless about identifying that critical 20% and focusing our energy there. The real enemy isn't a lack of time. It's spending it on all the wrong things.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we separate the vital few from the trivial many? That brings us to a simple but really profound framework for making this whole 80-20 idea practical. This is the key question, isn't it? Every day is a flood of emails, notifications, requests. Everything feels urgent. So how do we find that signal in all the noise? Well, the answer lies in learning to distinguish between what's urgent and what's truly important. And here's the tool that makes it possible. This matrix forces us to filter every single task through two simple questions. Is it urgent and is it important? So you've got quadrant 1 for crises, quadrant 3 for all those deceptive interruptions, and quadrant 4 for pure time wasters. But the real secret to effectiveness, the place where all the magic happens, that's quadrant 2.
The entire goal of using this framework is to intentionally shift your time and your energy right here to quadrant 2. This is the space for proactive work, things like planning, prevention, and building relationships. This is where true effectiveness is born, long before things turn into emergencies.
Think of Quadrant 2 as the home of deep work. It's where you plan, build relationships, learn new things, and prevent problems before they can even start. The more time you invest here, in what's important but not yet urgent, the more you actually shrink Quadrant I. You end up fighting fewer fires because you've taken the time to fireproof your work in the first place.
So let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about a new technique, it's about a fundamental shift in how we think about time, productivity, and even our lives.
This quote reframes the entire problem perfectly. It's not about time poverty, it's about the quality of the time we spend. We get caught up reacting to the urgent, lost in busy work, all while neglecting what's truly important. The anxiety we feel doesn't come from a lack of time, it comes from a lack of clear direction. Here it is. This is the core paradigm shift. Traditional time management is obsessed with the clock, efficiency, speed, cramming more in.
But that's the wrong target. You can't actually manage time, it just passes. The only thing you can ever truly manage is yourself and the choices you make within that time.
And that is the essence of self-management. It's having the clarity to know what your quadrant 2 priorities are and then having the discipline to focus on them even when all the urgent but unimportant distractions are screaming for your attention.
So, where do we go from here? Let's bring this all together into a simple, new approach you can start using today. Think of this as your compass. It really comes down to 3 steps. First, you identify your vital 20%. What are the few things that create the most value? Second, you schedule them. Don't just wait for free time to magically appear. You have to proactively put blocks in your calendar for this deep quadrant 2 work. And third, minimize everything else. Learn to say no, delegate, and eliminate the distractions from quadrants 3 and 4. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. A clock just tells you how fast you're going, but a compass tells you if you're headed in the right direction. Being super efficient at the wrong things doesn't lead to success. It just gets you to the wrong destination faster. The real goal is to find a better compass to guide our choices.
So, I'll leave you with a challenge. Take a look at your plan for tomorrow. Find one thing that feels urgent, but in your gut you know it isn't truly important. What's one task from that quadrant of deception that you can just eliminate? That simple act is the very first step toward trading the tyranny of the clock for the clarity of a compass. Thanks for tuning in.